My channel, Come Art Me. I'm Yafa, and today I'm going to show you my process of how I paint and what I use to achieve certain looks. Today I really want to focus on not using traditional color palettes to achieve a certain look. Now, today I'm just going to be using my Stay Wet palette to save any paint that I have in excess. I'm using Craft Art supply paint. It's fairly inexpensive and they have good pigmentation. It's paint to have more body, and acrylic medium is exactly what you want. And you can get those at any supply store. And all you'll need is brushes. And today I used a big piece of paper. I actually put 4 pieces of paper together to create this. And I'm putting it on different panels. Especially if you're doing a big piece of work, you're going to want to use larger brushes just to lay down more material at once. Now today the color palette I'm going for is an orange and purple kind of combination, and I use blue and red to just enhance those colors. And usually I'll use a little bit of white and black, but you just use a sparingly only to enhance color, like white maybe for highlights and black for darks, but you can easily achieve that using your base colors already. Now, I'm using orange and blue and purple because they're complementary, so they bounce off each other very well. And what you're gonna see today is me painting it and just going through the processes of how I build it up, how I add color and detail. So stay tuned and here we go.
So the first thing you see me do is sketch out my drawing, and I'm going to do the rest of the drawing off camera. Next thing, I'm going to go in with my base colors. So I'm putting in the orange and where it's generally going to be darker color. Now, I like to really go in first with all the darks because it's a lot easier than trying to cover up lights, because you get to the point where you can just build upon paint without worrying about being too much of a perfectionist. So I'm just going to go through and use the purple for the hair and for the really dark parts of the face. And I did my original drawing with pencil, so you can't really see it, but I definitely have a guide of where I'm putting the color. And I'm also using a reference photo from my phone. Sometimes when I use reference photos, I'll color correct them on the actual photo so I don't have to worry so much about how the color is going to be placed and where. And I take a lot of artistic liberties with certain things because I don't think everything has to be picture perfect. Because, you know, sometimes that makes for a boring piece. And if that's what you're going for, that's excellent. But sometimes what's wrong with the piece is the best thing about it. And this piece I'm making right now is inspired by a photo that I took. So I've been meaning to get around to this, so I just decided that I should paint it with you guys. So now I'm doing the other half of the face, and I lightened up my orange with some yellow and white, so it's a little bit more chromatic. And I'm starting to go into the detailings of the nose, the mouth, the eyes, all that fun stuff. And you can see that I'm constantly adding more paint because, of course, the bigger your piece is, the more material you're going to need to cover it. My favorite part when I'm doing a piece is the eyes and the mouth. Those two features shape so much about how you perceive a painting, because as human beings, we read facial expressions. I colored the whites of the eyes orange. And I think there's a common misconception that the whites of the eyes are actually white. A lot of the times they're off gray, cream, a lot of different colors. So finally, I'm getting started doing the shirt. And the shirt in the original photo is black, so, but instead I'm going to go in with a deep dark blue and with a combination of purple to really get the sense that it's dark. And it makes sense because the hair in the photo is black. And so the things that are black in this will be the same color or the same shade of blue. Now in the face, you can see that half the face is a warmer orange, and that's because I incorporated red into it. And you also, by doing that, you get the sense that that half of the face is darker. With color, things that are darker are usually encased in shadow, and things that are vibrant, full of color, highlighted, are what's in the foreground, so what's closest to you or what's of most importance. And when you're doing big work like this, or doing any work actually, it's really important to take a step back and see it from a different perspective. And so now I'm going in with white and I'm adding the base highlights on the right side of the face. And I'm adding some slightly to the left side as well, but not as complicated or as intense. And me personally, I have a habit of ping-ponging around a piece. So like I'll start one part of the face and then jump to the shirt, jump to the hair. But it's good to not put too much effort into one part and sort of spread out your attention throughout the piece so you have more consistency. And now the best part of a piece that's always going to make a piece stand out is the amount of highlight you add. I'm adding another layer of white to really make it bounce. And by doing that, the skin looks so much more alive and it shines like how an actual person would look. But I'm not using any actual colors. I'm using orange and blue. A common question I get asked about art is how do you become an artist or how do you get started? And I think the best thing to say is just do it, you know? Whenever you're approaching a piece, you should approach every piece as an experiment and just see where it takes from there because you'll be surprised about what you can do when you just go in. And I have a lot of friends that do an immense amount of planning of their work and their work is phenomenal. And I know a lot of people who just go in and do it intuitively and their work is also great. So I think it's just about finding your groove and what works for you. But overthinking it is definitely something that stops a lot of people from pursuing art. And honestly, anybody can be an artist. All the professions in the world have some degree of art in it. And everything that you do on a daily basis incorporates art. So I'm adding different shades of blue and purple into the shirt to give it dimension and depth. And when you're working with acrylics, water will dilute the color, but sometimes that works if it does what you need it to do. And it helps because acrylic paint dries up quickly if it's left unattended, so water will help rejuvenate it. And right now I'm painting on a background to sort of give it some warmth and an atmosphere. Now I'm adding this final touches and using a little bit more white and some orange and darkening up some parts where it needs some more depth. And I love myself a good pair of earrings, so I'm going to paint on some earrings. And the shirt that this figure is wearing is sheer on the top. But what I did instead is I painted the entire shirt a dark color, and I'm going to go over it with another color to give the illusion of sheerness. So I'm going to use orange to make it seem like the skin is peeking through the shirt. And also just to bring some warmth in it, because you don't want just one huge void of color that distracts from the rest of the piece. And of course, one more slathering of highlights just to make sure that we get it everywhere we like it. So that's everything. And just final touches where I can see. And that's it. I really hope that you like this video.